Anybody who's watched my channel up to this point knows I want to see the Clippers win. And, I want to see, my guy Kawhi Leonard get another championship with this team because it'll mean a whole lot to him and, to this organization as a whole. But it just seems like there keeps, reoccurring issues and disruptions. Some of the Clippers keep having disruptions in their rotations. And, I feel like that's something not only that can hinder the Clippers in the long run, but at the same time, it's a blessing in disguise that it's happening early rather than mid to later on in the season. So it's almost like a gift and a curse to me. And by me saying this, Kawhi Leonard is already on a minutes restriction. So is John Wall. Luke Kennard is dealing with the calf strain, which is kind of like, really weird situation with one of those, because you could be out either a couple of days or you could be out. I've seen players be out almost, a few weeks to a month, with a calf strain, depending on what, stage it's at, or like what type of calf strain it is, or like how severe it can be. And then you see other players in and out the lineup, and, Paul George has, right knee stiffness itself, and he's being evaluated. He might play within the next few games, which I believe he will, which I believe Kawhi will as well. I believe all of them will come back, in the next few games, or next week or a couple weeks or so. But my point is, you look at a game like tonight where they play a team like the Warriors, a big primetime game, a game that most people want to see on TV, a game that a lot of people are tuning in for, who marked on their calendar to watch a game like this. And to hear that possibly the both of the best players on the Clippers are going to be a no-show, and you're looking at a player like John Wall, who just got acquired by the Clippers, and because of his injuries and certain things, that he's on a minutes restriction from what I've heard and what I've read, and of course what I've seen. And other players on the Clippers are either injured, and then you have a player like Brandon Boston who's not even showing up to G League games, and it's undisclosed why Brandon Boston is not even showing up, to a G League game, which you can actually, read that and check that out yourself as well. And see, this is the thing, and hopefully Brandon Boston, everything is okay with his situation or whatever he's going through. But my point is, it just seems like there's disruptions with this team, and I don't really want to see that with this team, because as I said before, and I say it over and over again, they have to build the cohesiveness. They have to build that chemistry. I don't care how great of a team you are. If you don't have the chemistry, if you don't build it to the point to be a championship team, you're going to find yourself in a lot harder situations than you need to be. And as we've always talked about, the last time the Clippers really was together as a whole, and they were down 0-2 every series they played in. And the point is, you don't want to put yourself in those type positions if you don't have to. You want to have everybody out there playing as much as possible, being out there and gaining as much knowledge on the court and as much, cohesiveness on the court as possible, so you can make your life a lot easier going down the stretch of the season and going into the playoffs. Because I don't want to see the Clippers go into the playoffs and play a team, whoever they play. I don't want to see them play a team like Minnesota, hypothetically, and go in there and they're down 0-2 in the series, and they find a way to come back and win a series like that, and take everything out of them to win a series that they should win 4-1 easily, instead of a series like that going 6 or 7 games. Because we saw it happen with them just a couple years ago when all of them were healthy together, and against Luka, and all the rest is history. But this is my point. My point is, try to make life as easy as possible. And I understand injuries happen. You can't do nothing about it. You have to just go with it, roll with it. But at the same time, it's like, man, it just seems like there's always something with this team in regards to injuries. And it's like, I know everybody can get healthy on this team. I know everybody on this team can play at a high level. I know what this team could do. I'm watching this team bits and pieces here and there, and anybody that looks at basketball can see this team is definitely a championship team. It's no doubt about that. Never a doubt about that. But you start to get concerned after a while, because you think when you put all this together in your mind and you compartmentalize everything that you're seeing with this team, Kawhi comes back for 2 games. Kawhi comes into the season, plays 2 games. Then he's taken away for a little while due to knee stiffness, things like that. Then he comes back and he hasn't found his stride yet, but of course, it's going to take him a while to do that. And then, he rolls his ankle the other night. He's not going to show up in this game against the Warriors. And then on top of that, Paul George with the knee stiffness, he's going to be out a couple of games, I believe. And like I said, John Wall's already on a minutes restriction. And then you're hearing a lot of things about, them trying to trade for Miles Turner in the middle of the season, where on paper, the team that they have right now was projected to win the whole thing. They didn't project this team with a Miles Turner, with anybody else added to this team. This team is projected to win a championship based off of what they have on their roster currently, not about what they can acquire in the middle of the season to make them a championship team. Now, of course, we've seen teams acquire, players and things like that, and it actually was like maybe the missing ingredient they might need or something like that. Don't get me wrong, but this team is looked at as a championship roster the way they're currently constructed. So really adding something to this team is not something, or adding a piece to this team is not something anybody factored in going into this season, when they were looked at, or when they're still looked at as of now, as the team who can come out the West and represent the West in the NBA Finals. And it's like you all these things are just not, they're just setbacks to me. And I know a lot of people might listen to this and sound like, it may come off to you like, I am, bashing the Clippers or something like that, but I'm not bashing them at all. I'm just speaking the facts. There has to be some type of continuity. This team has to find a way to stay healthy, because as much as I've been saying it these last few years about this team and how much talent they have and how much they can do and what they can be, other people has been saying it too. You look at other channels out there, other YouTube channels, you listen to other NBA analysts, you listen to other people who are into sports and or into basketball the way I am, into the NBA the way I am. Other people have said it too, but other people have also said that this team is snake bitten. This team is cursed. This team is never going to get to the top. This team is never going to win a championship. I'm not one of the ones who say that. I'm one of the ones who say this team can do it as long as they have somebody like a Kawhi who could help lead them on the floor, and a Paul George who could help lead them as well, if they, both stay healthy enough to lead the charge and lead by example. And the thing is, the more and more I see this team, I understand that they can do it, but at some point you have to make it happen. And all the games, and I'm telling you, all the games that are missed by Kawhi, PG, the role players, it's a setback for them building that ultimate chemistry that everybody wants to see them get to. Because everybody, when they look at the Clippers right now, when you look at the Clippers on paper, you're supposed to be seeing a more dominant team than what you see. This is what I say. Even when Kawhi is out a couple games and he plays, or Paul George sits out a couple games, if one of those two superstars are on the floor, you still should have more of a dominant team than what you do have. They still should play a lot better. And I understand why they don't, because they're trying to make sure everybody gets a piece of the pie, and everybody knows their role. When certain players come back, and it's like when certain players are out of the lineup, you ask Paul George to step up and be the guy, and then when Kawhi comes back, Paul George has to regress back to the second guy. And if Paul George is out for some reason, Kawhi needs to, he's already the guy, but he needs to step up and add more to his plate, scoring wise and all the above, because Paul George is not there. It takes more energy out of Kawhi to help the team. See, it's all back and forth. And it's like, to me, I guess me growing up watching basketball, I understand the game is different now. I really do. But it's like when you looked at Shaq and Kobe, if any of you remember, Shaq and Kobe back in the day, or anything like that, or anybody like that, it wasn't, Shaq was out 10 games or this and that. More continuity was built because players stayed healthier back in the day. And I don't really know what it is in today's game, but it just seems like, players don't stay as healthy as they used to. And it's like, that's a problem, because when you're trying to predict a team trying to go far in the playoffs and win championships and things like that, it's really hard to predict. You really have a clouded judgment because you're going by what you see on paper, but you don't see the continuity and the chemistry being built and the team out there enough dominating for it to all come together. And I don't care how good of a team you have, talent-wise, the only way it all comes together is being out there playing. And it's like, so far, the Clippers, it's still early in the season. I'm not saying it's not, but it's just, I just need to see more. And like I said, I want to see more. And it's not even just the need. I want to see more. I want to see more Kawhi. I want to see more PG. I want to see them off of minutes restrictions. I don't want to see John Wall on a minutes restriction. I don't want to see Kawhi Leonard on a minutes restriction. I don't want to see, guys that I thought would be somewhat primary or a part of the team in the G League, like Brandon Boston, who I personally think Brandon Boston's not showing up to games because he just don't want to be there. I mean, why the hell does he want to be in the G League and watch his team on TV play on these big games? And this is their season to do it, and he's not even a part of the trend of trying to help them do it when he's the young player that they stole in the draft, to get, that a lot of people looked at and said, this kid could really be something. Now I understand he doesn't play defense the way a lot of people think he wants to, but hell, he didn't play defense all that great in college, but it didn't stop them from drafting him, did it? It didn't stop them from going after him because he doesn't play defense. That doesn't mean anything. You drafted him knowing that he wasn't that great of a defensive player. You drafted him with the notion of knowing that he can put the ball in the basket. That's how a lot of players get drafted. A lot of players get drafted for their offense. A lot of players get drafted for their defense. So I mean, that's just the way it is. You know what you have. You know what you're getting in regards to the player before you draft him, because you looked at tape, you watched him, you sent scouts, recruiters to watch him up close and live and tell you the good and the bad about his game, and you should be able to work around and make adjustments if you decide to draft him. And see, these are the problems I have. These little things that we're seeing with the Clippers can become problems in the future. And hopefully, they don't, because like I said, they have Kawhi Leonard, but ailing Kawhi Leonard can't make up for a lot of the Clippers' issues right now. And like I said, the biggest issue, which is the same issue they keep having, seem to be year after year, is their health. So I mean, I'm just hungry is what I am. I'm hungry to see all these guys on the floor, because I feel like every time I watch a Clippers game, I never see the full effect of what they can be. And I keep saying that, and we keep projecting what they can be and what they will do, what time they have. Oh, it's early in the season. Yeah, all that's great. But at some point, you got to put it all together. You see what I'm saying? Like you gotta, and if anything, you got to have your two main guys out there. You got to. Because right now, if you look at the Western Conference, just hypothetically, everybody in the Western Conference seems like it's one or two games from being a 10th seed all the way to like the 3rd seed. It just seems that way. So it's like when you look at that in its entirety, if the West is that close, that means you can't lose but so many damn games. That means you have to stay apart. You have to stay up as much as you can, because there's not much room for error. And when you have situations like that, when a conference is that tough, well, that ought to tell you something. You need your star players out there more than not. You don't need the minute restrictions. You don't need to sit them out too much because you're being overly too precautious. No, you need them out there playing. And like I said, these people are paying hard-earned money to come see these players and see them. And I understand if you're really hurt. Like I said, Kawhi has an ankle injury right now. I don't think he's going to play. Ankle sprain. He's not going to play against the Warriors and stuff like that tonight. But see, that's a setback for a lot of fans. A lot of fans pay their hard-earned money to see these games. They take their kids to these games. They take themselves to this game. And, a lot of people are looking at life now. We might be going through a recession and all these things coming up soon and all this stuff. Well, people don't have money to waste. I'm glad NBA players do. I'm glad they have money to waste, but we don't. We don't live the lifestyle they live. We don't have the money that they have, or at least a lot of us don't. So it's like, people don't have money to waste like that. I mean, people want to come see these players play, and they should be out there. And as I said before, I do understand, Kawhi and the team and everything. They need to do what they can to, make it through the season and all that stuff. And they need to be precautious with Kawhi and everybody. I get all that. But at some point, they got to play. At some point, they got to play through some of these things. They got to play through some of these injuries, or these little injuries that everybody in the season goes through. I mean, honestly, if Paul George is out with knee stiffness, you think Marcus Morris or one of the other players on the team don't have knee stiffness? Do you think it's just Paul George that has knee stiffness? I mean, really, you think it's other players in the league that don't have knee stiffness that's playing through it every night, going out there, that's risking their body to put their lives on the line or whatever the case may be? There's other players going through the same thing. We need to see more of everybody on this team. And I one thing about the Clippers, I will say I do not like. I just don't like the fact that, nothing against them personally, of course. I mean, I like the team and everything, but I just don't like the fact I can never see the whole piece of the puzzle together. And that's my thing. I want to see all these guys playing. I want to see all these guys together. I want to see how they're really going to be this dominant team that I envision them to be, along with you and along with a lot of other people, because like I said, you can't always just sit here and say, oh, they'll be great by the time playoffs come. They'll be this and be this and be that by the time playoffs come. Well, how many teams have we seen, whoever's watched basketball a long time or enough, how many teams have you seen who didn't play as much during the regular season and didn't build that cohesiveness, just go into the playoffs and automatically flip a switch and everything works out to its highest degree? It's very few teams we've seen actually do that. So my thing is, I understand the Clippers are trying to be precautious as a team. I understand the organization is trying to make all the right moves, but they have to kind of let these guys play too, because as I said, every loss counts this year. And like I said, if you look at that Western Conference, I mean, just last week, the Clippers were less than a week ago, the Clippers were like the 10th seed in the West. Kawhi Leonard comes back for a few games. Now all of a sudden they're the 3rd or 4th seed in the West. You see what I'm saying? Because every team is close. Everything is no gap. It's no distance hardly between these teams. So you need all the wins you can get. And the only way the Clippers are going to get them against some of these teams is going to give them a lot of competition is they're going to have their main guys out there. That's just the way it is. So, I mean, I'm just saying this because I really hope that, Kawhi and PG get healthy enough to give us some consistent games together and give us some consistent dominant games together. They gave us some, periodically throughout this 4-year stretch. But at the same time, this is the year for them to really win the championship. So this is the year we really need to see more continuity, not only with them on the floor, but with, everybody on the team. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to hear Brandon Boston going to the G League. Why the hell is he in the G League? Why can't he develop on the team why can't he develop in practice and workouts before every game? Why is he not out there personally? You see what I'm saying? I like Amir Coffey. I think Amir Coffey should be getting minutes too. And he does get minutes. I'm not saying he doesn't. But what I'm saying is, hey, you know what I'm saying? You got somebody like Brandon Boston, get him in there. But either way, like I said, that's just me going on the rant. I just hope everything works out the way it's supposed to. Shout out to them. Hopefully everybody gets healthy. And that's my take on everything. But hey, like I said, leave any comments in the comment section. Also, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you choose to. I really appreciate it. And hey, till next time.